Movie that I saw recently is called Sea Beast, and I think it's a Netflix original. And so only you people on Netflix will actually, have to suffer through it because it is a total trash movie. It is disgusting and awful, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, but first let's talk about why let's talk about what I like about it first before I destroy it. It's the same production team that made How to Train Your Dragon, and I love those movies. Those were well done movies, and they apply a lot of the same principles and a lot of the same style to it. So it's very vibrant in color. It's very detailed, and it's very well animated, and the characters are likable and distinguished, and they fit the bill pretty well with all those things. So it's not that it's not a pretty movie. It's nice to look at, and it's got a lot of thrilling aspects to it, but the writing and the characters and the plot are all total trash. Now, the key thing about this movie is it tries to trick you, okay? Because the beginning of the movie is actually very good, okay? It shows a sequence of these people called hunters, and in this coastal kingdom, and the culture behind it is that they go out and they kill very big sea monsters and cut off certain parts of their body and bring them back because they're valuable. They've been doing this for a long time. It's quite profitable for them, and so the people who do it are considered heroes, and everyone else benefits from them. So it's a great process. And there's a little girl in this story who is orphaned because her parents were killed on a hunter's ship trying to kill some sea monsters. She wants to be a hunter herself when she grows up. She reads a lot of books. She reads a book about hunters to her orphan friends, but she doesn't want to stay in the orphanage. She leaves the orphanage because she wants to go be a hunter. And so there are all these hunters out there, and the biggest, baddest ones are the ones who are after the red bluster, I think it's called. It's a big red fish. No one's been able to catch it. No one's been able to kill it. That's the grand prize. And the captain of this ship has lost his eye due to the big red fish, so he wants revenge on it. And they're out chasing it, but then some of their buddies out on the sea are also being harassed by another sea monster, so they decide to leave the red one alone, go after the other one. They kill it, bring the horn back to the king and queen, and say, "Hey, check it out. We did another good job." And they say, "Yeah, that's sweet, but we've been so successful for so long that we actually don't think we need hunters anymore. We're just gonna let our Royal Navy take over, if that's cool." And the captain's like, "No, not cool." And he's like, "Well, as long as that big red fish is out there, there's still a threat. So, and the captain's like, "Okay, okay. How about we have a contest though? If we get it first, we stay, we keep our jobs. If not, you let the Navy take over." And so the king and queen are like, "Okay, I like that deal." And so the hunters really got to do it now. They got to bring their A game. But they decide to celebrate because they came back alive from this last one. And this little girl showed up downtown, to say, "Hey, I want to be a hunter." And the best of the hunters is named Jacob, and he's very good at killing big monsters. He's very big and strong. He's acrobatic. He's got really good aim. He's the greatest of them, at least of the younger ones. He's the only person greater than him is probably the captain, if anyone's greater than him. So the little girl runs into him, and he's just like, yeah, no kids allowed on our ship. You're gonna get killed if you try to be a hunter. So he throws her in a wagon. They try to take her back to the orphanage. And so their ship sets off to go catch the big redfish, and they find out that the little girl has stowed away on the ship, and they're not very happy about that. But she is given a knife to defend herself in case something happens, because it is going to be dangerous. And as luck would have it, they do run into the big red fish. Okay, and this is where everything just starts to go wrong. Okay, because this fish is massive. This fish is basically impregnable. Okay, you can't hurt the dang thing. They throw all these harpoons at it, and line it up like Jaws, and get all these lines out on it, and get it to drag the ship. And the ship is tiny compared to the fish, so it starts to dive and do this whirlpool thing. It's taking the ship down, and like Jacob's freaking out. He's like, "Dude, this thing's gonna kill us. It's gonna take us all down. We're gonna die. And the captain's like, no, we're doing this. We're gonna kill it, or we're gonna die trying. And so the kid determines that this is probably better that nobody die. And I cut the rope. Cutting the rope is probably a good idea. So the little girl goes down to cut the rope with her knife. The captain says, hey, don't do that. Jacob, stop her. So Jacob goes down. He's about to stop her, but then he decides also on his own that it's better to just cut the rope or they're all going to die. And the monster's going deep, man. So she cuts the rope. Suddenly the monster's free. The ship flows up. The little girl and Jacob get launched off the ship. And the monster supposedly gets away. And so, as they're scrambling to get on this rowboat to get back on ship, the captain's obviously very pissed off. That thing is the reason why he lost his eye. He wants his revenge. He's not happy that they took it from him. So he decides to draw his gun and someone's going to get shot for this is basically what his attitude was. Understandable. But, just before he can do anything, the big red fish takes them in his mouth and swims away. Not sure why this happened, okay? This is the beginning of all the atrocities, okay? This big fish has absolutely no debt, has no reason to do anything nice for them because it doesn't eat them. It's just taking them away somewhere. It saves them from the shot, and it somehow understood the context of that. I don't know where that came from. And so, this fish just decides to help them all of a sudden, even though it doesn't owe them anything. It wasn't in any immediate danger. If anybody got killed, it was going to be the crew because the fish was going to take them under. The ship would have been ruined. Everyone would have drowned at the end. So why is this fish helping these two people? I don't know. And they never explain themselves. Anyway, the fish takes them out to an island. Jacob still wants to kill it. The little girl, for some reason, does not. Okay, this little girl has a complete 180 turn with her character immediately after meeting this one fish on her very first sea voyage. Her parents died fighting these things. She should hate them. She was wanting to be a hunter this entire time. And now with her very first experience, even remotely being around real hunters, she doesn't think they should kill the fish. Because it's actually harmless. It's like, it didn't eat us. We should be nice to it. And Jacob's like, you're stupid. And she is stupid, okay? Imagine if Bruce Wayne in the alley watched his parents get shot by a criminal. And then years later, after being an orphan, runs into another criminal, and the criminal's actually not that bad. It's like, no, I was just selling weed or something. It's like, and then says, you know what? Maybe criminals aren't that bad. Maybe I've been a little harsh on them. They're actually not that bad. No reason to be that mad, right? It's like the entire motivation to be Batman and to beat up criminals was because of what happened when he was a kid. It was uncontrollable. It's trauma that was never sorted out. Okay? It's very difficult to sort out. But this little girl just decides that none of that matters anymore and they should protect this big red fish from any more harm because it helped them, even though it had no reason to help them. And Jacob's like, you know what? We just need to get back to the ship. We can clear this up. And so he tries to row back, but then they get attacked by another big sea monster for some reason. And then the big red fish stops them. And it's like, look, another sea monster that tried to kill us. And you're saying we shouldn't kill the sea monsters. Anyway, so the big red fish, and also the girl suddenly just knows how to talk to the fish, and the fish listens to her for some reason, even though there was no time to build that rapport and there's no explanation as to why they understand each other and why they listen to each other. Decides to give them a ride back home. So it's giving them a ride back home, and they stop at an island, and then voila, it's the Navy that is out to kill the big red fish. Is just chilling on this island unexpectedly, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, the little girl's like, don't shoot this big red fish. She's actually nice. And the Navy's like, heck no, we're shooting this fish. They shoot it with cannons. The big fish gets upset because, it's not actually hurt, but It goes down. It smashes the ship in to pieces, in half. It's in pieces. It's a huge ship. How many people were on that ship? They're probably all dead, or at least a lot of them are. That big red fish that was harmless, that we shouldn't hurt, just killed a lot of people on purpose. But no, don't hurt it. And then behind the Navy were the hunters that are still looking for the big red fish, and the captain acquired a poisonous harpoon to catch it. And there's this whole subplot about how that was a terrible decision to make. He bought it from a shaman woman. She said it would cost him everything to use it. They don't explain why. But who cares? They go in, they shoot the big red fish. It gets all drowsy from the poison and then passes out. They tie it up. And they're like, all right, we're going to kill the fish. And the captain's like, no, we're going to take this to the king and the queen. We're going to show them that we did our job. And we're going to kill it in front of them. And it's going to be great. And they're all just like, okay. And rather than leave Jacob and the little girl stranded, they take them on the ship. Everyone's reunited. And they're just like, okay. It was kind of lame what happened, but I'm willing to overlook it. And this little girl, she was injured in the whole situation. Because of the big red fish, by the way. And she's waking up and she's all drowsy and stuff. And she overhears their plan to kill the fish. She takes out her little knife. She tries to stab the captain. Attempted murder from this, 10-year-old girl. She would rather kill a human being who has not directly done her any harm than kill a fish that's like 60 yards long and who knows how heavy. Like a huge fish that has killed a ton of people. This is hard for me. So obviously she's unsuccessful. They stop her, take the knife away. It's like, okay, that was dumb. Go to your room. They go back to the king and queen. The king and queen are obviously pleased. They're like, sweet dude, you got the big red fish. It looks like you get to keep your job. And they're like, yeah, I know, right? So now watch me stab it. And then the little girl obviously escapes the ship again for some reason. And this whole time, also before she did that, is that she was reading up on the history of the hunters, and somehow, somewhere, discovered it was all a lie. That the threat of the big monsters was actually fabricated by the king and the queen, and that she needs to tell everyone. So she cuts the ropes so that the monster can kind of get back up, because it's waking back up. And it kind of stumbles around a lot, and it knocks down a building. How many people were in that building? We don't know. They're probably dead now, though, whoever they were, and however many there were, we don't know. Because of this big, stupid, red sea monster that this kid keeps trying to defend. And so, going on, Jacob also buys into this. He's totally digging what the little girl is saying. His entire career has been based on killing sea monsters. He was going to be the next captain of this ship. Instead of just going back into that, he decides that he wants to save this big red fish for not really any good reasons. And so he defies the captain again, betrays him again, and they fight over killing the big red fish. And so the king and queen are like, okay, I've had enough of this. Everyone shoot the big red fish. And no one shoots it. And the little girl gets up and says, this is all a lie. The king and the queen lied to you all. We don't have to hurt these delicate, harmless creatures that literally just killed a bunch of people. And miraculously, everyone listens to the little girl and believes her immediately with no evidence whatsoever. With no trial, with no discussion with an actual adult who has a fully functioning brain. Like, everyone listens, everyone lays down their guns, and let the fish go. And the king and queen are suddenly running for their lives because everyone wants justice, because they were lied to. Their whole culture is a lie. And that's pretty much the end. This movie is completely awful because of what it teaches and because of what. Because it absolutely has terrible writing and terrible character arcs. I don't mind if you want the same plot line to apply. You have this little girl, she wants to be a hunter, she wants to do what they do, and then finds out along the way that it's not what it seems, that this whole idea was kind of fabricated and that these animals actually don't really want to hurt people. That's a fine plot if you want to make it that way, but show us how it happened, not just there's there are some terrible ideas lurking around out there, and and they're not good for kids too, because if you're trying to teach kids that a fish's life is worth more than a human life, which is another thing that it also is pretty much spitting right in your face, it's an idea that they kind of want to do. It's like, that's not a good message. It's really not. Who's gonna get inspired off of that? It's like, who cares? And again, they're they're disagree. They're I can't even think right now. They are contradicting their own argument by showing a big monster that fights off other dangerous big monsters that would eat people. All these monsters are man-eaters, okay? The thing about this big red monster is that it's kind of cute looking, and it doesn't necessarily have any grudge against humans, but literally every other sea monster does, okay? They're vicious, they're mean, they want to hurt people. But the big red one is still the one that killed a ton of people on the ship, even if that building was empty that it knocked over. Like, property damage. It's like, what is the line of thinking where this is a good coherent story? It's just not. Okay? And if you've seen it, I just want you to know how terrible I think it is, and how I don't think you should watch it. I don't think you should let your kids watch it. It's a bad message, it's bad writing. Even on purely a creative element, they start trying to push an idea more than they try to tell a story. Okay? And there's no consequence, like, there are no consequences for wrong action. And there's no development on the child's part. Okay, they have this little kid who immediately is good at everything, immediately knows the right answer to everything. She has no struggling for anything. She just suddenly knows how to talk to this monster. She suddenly knows about the huge conspiracy that she's going to reveal to everybody all of a sudden. That's not a good message either. Okay, what is real and what people can relate to is having to struggle through something, having to overcome, having to win a game that is hard. That is where fulfillment lies. We all know that. This little girl goes through none of that, and still she's considered the hero and the savior at the end. She revolutionized everything without lifting a finger of her own effort. She just already had it somehow at 10 from growing up in an orphanage and going onto the sea one time. And we're supposed to believe that. Again, if the plot line was orphan girl wants to be a hunter, becomes a hunter through hard work and effort on this ship with this crew, builds a career, but then slowly realizes that everything they've been doing is based on a lie, didn't need to do what they were doing, and then leads the charge to changing it. That's not a bad story, but don't show her having to problem solve. Show her having to do things that are difficult to overcome, because that's what you have to actually do in life. None of that. She just automatically knew what to do. Everyone automatically caved to her, and that was that. It's like, this is a horrible message. This is horrible writing, and it's more propagandist than anything. All you're trying to do is peddle an idea than anything else. It's not creative. It's not a good movie. It's not a good message. Again, it's pretty. It's nice to look at. This is the problem we're having today with modern movies, okay? It doesn't matter if there's good animation. It's pretty and it's nice to look at, okay? That means they're trying to distract you from the point they're trying to make. And if the point they're trying to make is fish lives matter more than yours, it's like, or any other human life matters, it's like, What? Are you kidding me? That's stupid. That is horrible. Why would you think that? Anyway, I think, you know, I think that's all I have to say. It's just that there are this movie was so infuriating. Like, I'd want to go into detail even more and make this even longer, but the point I'm trying to make is that why this movie is so bad is because it tries to trick you. At the very beginning, it shows you everything that the hunters do to achieve their goal of hunting these big sea monsters, and the work they had to do, and the danger, and the teamwork with everyone, you know, and how they were successful and how good it felt that no one died, that they did a good job, and that they were going to go home. At the very beginning, those were all the aspects, and that was a good way to lead everything off. It was entertaining, it was funny, it was all these good things. And then rather than show the conflict they would have to go through to potentially lose their jobs, you know, and whatever, it turns out all of it was just a big conspiracy revealed by a kid who already knew how to do everything. And if only they had let this kid in sooner, or who knows, whatever, everything changed. And it's like, that is not a quality story at all. And so if you're curious as to whether to see it or not, or let your kids see it or not, I'd advise against it. So, yeah. Sea Beast is total trash. Okay. Good night, everyone.